their community. GACHAGUA argues that lead silence former deputy. All right, guys. So welcome to Live Saga TV. Of course, I'm trying to balance entertainment for us and Live Saga TV. So bear with me. If you see I'm not coming here, I'm trying to push hard on edutainment for us, but I'm not forgetting our channel right here. So, of course, GACHAGUA is one person who knows how to use statements, political statements all the time to turn a narrative against individuals that may be actually celebrating some things. So, of course, guys, recently you saw RUTO in Kakamega speaking, and in his address he said that in 2027 he does not have any task ahead of him. And the reason as to why he thinks he doesn't have any task, it's because he actually has no competition, because Raila is no longer there. According to him, the only person that was a threat to him was Raila Odinga, and so they are no longer there. Now, unfortunately for Ruto, I don't know whether he forgot about who was in the party of those who are wearing sufurias. So he actually went ahead to talk about wale walivaa sufuria sahi hawako. And it was such an absurd moment, okay? And I even know that now currently, even though ODM are still speaking of 2 terms, some of them, but some of them must have changed the narrative. The politics of a country actually moves so fast. Every day it's a new day, and we have new thoughts, new ideologies, new perspectives based on what we say. Now, they always say that our tongue is a very small object, but it can really put us in hot soup, you know? Just one statement may be running us down the drain. When we thought we are now flying up, we find ourselves down. Now, I don't know why Ruto had to say such a statement. And I know very well he doesn't take liquor. So this statement actually came as a shock after him offering a state funeral for Raila Odinga and actually calling him a friend and standing on the platform and podium to say he's a friend, he has lost a friend, he has lost a teacher, he's lost a person whom they had agreed on a lot of things. So people began to confirm the narrative of Raila Odinga not having died a natural death, things to do with what we have been seeing on internet about Raila Odinga actually having been poisoned in Uganda. All those now came out and people are supporting that. And for whatever reason, such statements might be actually trusted after what he drummed. Now, at least just by saying that in 2027 he doesn't have a competition, in these people were there calling him one term because they don't have a manifesto, at least people would have taken that as something, maybe acknowledgement to Baba. But when he said about sufuria, guys, it was just beyond any thought. It was something disgracing. Now, let's look into GACHAGUA's statement that was passed on, I think it was Sunday. So let's check on that to see what he had to say. I don't know what's happening. I'm just checking. Oh, it's a message on WhatsApp. All right, guys, so I welcome you to Live Saga TV. I know you normally come here on this channel, and I really appreciate, and we are growing slowly by slowly. We'll be there. We are targeting 500 subscribers, then 1,000, of course. For those of you who have YouTube channels, you understand the tingo. So let's get to see GACHAGUA's statements.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done.
We have been holding consultations as of now as united opposition, mainly opposition parties who have presented candidates for the November 27th by-election.
For agreeing that we put our candidates together because they are going to is a sure winner in Magarini. We in DCP have been overwhelmed by that very gracious action. Again, without Wiper Party.
Ilike Mweni, welcome, hello. Thank you so much for showing up on the channel, and I appreciate you. So, of course, Gachagua actually is a funny guy. He's come up with a lot of statements that sometimes you just want to sit down and analyze. At the same time, compare what he says and what Ruto says, what he says with what Faruk says, what he says and what Sudi says, what he says and what Sufuna says, so it becomes a drama. But at the same time, we really have to be very keen and analyze what they are saying, because these statements will come back. After 2027, we'll still be here to look at this. Ileke Mweni already says goodbye. Thank you for the like. I really appreciate. Even if you stayed for 1 minute, no problem. I know you'll have another time to stay more. So let's look at this.
Gachagua alichukua hizo words za Ruto and how he interpreted them.
I have heard William Ruto bragging that with the demise of Raila Odinga, he has no opponent. I'd like just to inform you that we are not his opponents. His opponents are the people of Kenya. And the people of Kenya have gone nowhere. We are just doing what the people of Kenya want. We have sufficient, clear instructions from the people of Kenya to agree on one single presidential candidate to face William Ruto and liberate our country, restore the dignity of the peasant, restore the Kenyan nation, bring an end to the era of bribery and corruption, mismanagement of public resources, the era of abductions and extrajudicial killings. And we want to assure them.
So, of course, as you understand, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Such a boring live. All right. You want a live? No problem. Those who are ready to actually watch the boring live will keep watching. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you can go watch some soap operas. Of course, here we are not giving soap operas. We are giving political analysis. And that's what exactly it is. Okay? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you may go up to Z anyway. But here we are to stay and continue with our boring lives. All right? Yeah, so of course, when you look at that video clip, you realize that Gachagua was riding on the statement Ruto posted the other day while in Kakamega North. He was right in Kakamega trying to tell people that the member of UDA should be supported in the political journey of the MP of to replace that is the fallen Malulu. All right. And after that, now he said that in 2027 he's going to win a landslide because he doesn't have any competition after Baba went. He also said that the people of Sufurias are gone, so he has nothing to actually face. Now, one thing about Ruto is that he keeps lecturing and reassuring people that he's going to win it. And today, I had a privilege to watch some lady who actually spoke a lot of sense, and I hope that people really will listen to her. Because what she was saying is, a leader doesn't do this, okay? A leader doesn't do what we are seeing. Whether it is Ruto or any other leader, they should learn a lesson that a leader is supposed to listen to the people and actually do it. Serve the people and let them say that we are taking him back because of what he did. A leader shouldn't come out and just keep praising themselves, making it look like they are doing it when in reality we can't see it, okay? And I want just to bring a clip here again so that we see what I'm talking about. And actually, I appreciate your presence here. And I want to bring something. There was a very live presentation from a lady who actually talked a lot of sense, and I saw a lot of sense in what she said. That's why I want to bring it here, because in political analysis, that's what we do. Okay? That's what we do. So with your patience, let me bring this up. So the difference of I think I have it here on the history, the videos I played some moments. Yeah, the lady is here. Your job as a leader is to simply take a people's vision and turn it into a reality. That's what Kenya needs. Huh?
Yeah.
A leader who's coming to, to take you, to transform your lives. Not just to stand on stage and dance for you, but really bringing solutions or sitting with Kenyans. NG, please. In fact, this is one thing I like to say. Welcome to the channel. Know how to solve their problems.
Yeah.
In fact, if you bring Kenyans into a room, they will tell you this is our problem and this is how we can resolve it. And you, on a governance level, you just make things happen because then you are on the administrative level.
Yeah.
But we have seen increasingly government and administrations not respecting what Kenyans really want. And you assume that you are the one who knows the problem and you... Oh my God, that was a moment in Brave Kenya TV during an interview. NG plays 50. I say hello to you. Welcome to the channel. So the reality is that most people we have in our country are not leaders. Yeah, they are not leaders because they normally play a trumpet, and they always present their problems to the people. For example, they'll come to a region, they come about and they say, this is what we want to solve. Even when citizens don't think that is their problem. Maybe citizens would be having a problem of health, but these people will bring a computer for them. How is the computer going to solve? We have leaders in this country who, when people have a problem of food, what they'll bring is maybe roads. How are roads going to solve food? Currently, if people are suffering from food situation, provide them with a solution through enhancing their agricultural processes. Yeah. So that is one thing that the lady here is saying, that leadership actually requires you letting the people share the problems and have them solved. But when you come up with your own, imaginary problems and you want to solve them at the same time, at the end of the day, citizens say you are solving their problem. And I think you've seen, like last time in Ukambani, you actually saw how the leaders in Ukambani spoke. They indicated that the problems that are being solved in Ukambani are not theirs. You also heard Sifuna. Sifuna spoke recently, and what he said is that the leaders in our nation are not solving the current problems in different regions. What they are doing, they are coming up with their own problems and solving them. But they are not bringing the problems that citizens actually have currently. Now let's look at the other lady here and what she said. Naona tu mtu bila sweta na nangoja kuambiwa. Mimi hata nachukua vichwa vyenu. Talking about the fact that Baba is gone. I mean, we're very often sitting here for some of us who like championing democracy. It was a bit painful when we were hearing that because yes, Baba is gone, but Baba taught us so many things. He lives beyond being gone. So if you think that, just as his legacy of championing democracy no longer exists, then you're completely wrong. You see that? All right, so when you listen to that lady, she's not talking like GACHAGUA, but at the same time, she's passing some information. Rusimba Q2Q. Welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for showing up. Like the video, and I really appreciate your presence. And people are actually engaging. Unlike ABCDEFG just came and dropped a negative comment and went away. But I really appreciate those who keep giving attention to what we are sharing here, because somehow, maybe I understand that it's going to initiate or rather make someone understand something. So Ru Simba Q2Q, welcome to the channel. So looking at this young lady, she said that it was very painful to hear a statement thrown that now that Baba is gone, there is no competitor. It's like a wife has died in a polygamous home, and another one stands and says, now there is no competition for me. Is that really a compliment? It's not. According to me, in my perspective, if, for example, in a polygamous marriage, one wife dies and a co-wife stands and says, now there is no competition for me, it clearly spells volumes. It clearly spells volumes, especially in Africa. It would really redefine and deconstruct you as the speaker, especially after you are there in a testimony mourning and saying, I'm sorry, we've lost. Then just a short while, you drop such a statement, it will be just interpreted very negatively. Anyway, so the lady here was saying that Baba was actually the father of democracy, and he did a lot. And whatever he did was not just when he was there physically, but he actually impacted on the lives of many, many people who are actually following, including people like Babu, Sifuna, and many others who are hidden even in other corridors away from politics. So looking at someone standing up and saying in a political rally, and he's the sitting president who is supposed to serve the people, he comes and says that there is no competition now that Raila is dead. It becomes a negative statement to some people, genuinely. And maybe you have a different opinion, you are free to share, but let us respect each other's opinion. Anyway, this is what she had to say about leadership.
Age-old philosophy has always shown that if you want to be the best leader, you win the hearts of the people. That is how you win. I think it was Machiavelli in The Prince who said, start by winning the hearts of the people. That is the one that is more sustainable. The world we live in today, leadership is about influence. It is not about authority. You work on servant leadership by getting influence from the people. When you get legitimacy, that is when you make your life easy. And how do you do this? You listen to the people, you affirm, you have your conviction, and you guide and you lead. I have to say, in 2022, really leading up to, when President RUTO was elected, he had a very good message. I mean, he was able to tell people, Mama Mboga and the rest of you, I have this better economic plan and I'm going to uplift you and put you somewhere very significant. Why was that selling well? Because your job as a leader is to simply take a people's vision and turn it into a reality.
All right. So the lady actually went further to tell us that in any society, people have a vision. Like, I'm trying to look at Tanzania. What was the vision of Tanzanians? I'm not so sure whether their vision was actually to be coerced into having sham of an election, or what did they exactly have? And I think I have something that I heard from Oroba. Oroba was sharing something today, and she was saying that in reality, Tanzania was out to have a moment of election where they could pick their leader without necessarily being forced into anything. But what did they have? It was a kind of situation where there are no overseers of the election. There are barracks, there are police all over the place. And at the end of the day, even when they were swearing in, we didn't see the 31 million people watching, or rather celebrating Mama Suluhu. All we saw was the dignitaries, visitors from different countries, and a lot of security, surveillance, armies all over the place. Okay? And you realize that even during the swearing moment, this is what was still happening in Tanzania. Okay. So that was the situation, okay? And so many people have talked about Tanzania, but we better leave it away and talk about other places. And of course, what I'm trying to say is that finally, the opposition has decided to come up and share some things. And I want us to hear GACHAGUA. GACHAGUA is dropping bombshell after bombshell to the government. Is this right? Or why is this happening? Let's listen to this.
For the gracious decision in Narok Township to cede ground to DCP And it is in the same spirit that DCP has ceded ground in Malava, in Bere North. We want to inform the people of Kenya that the formula of getting a single presidential candidate to face William Ruto is on course. And for those who have been in doubt, what is happening in these by-elections is advanced rehearsal of the formula and the mechanism to get a single presidential Ruto. And we want to assure the people of Kenya, come rain or shine, we are determined, as we have been told by the people of Kenya, that they want one single presidential candidate to face William Ruto. I have heard William Ruto bragging that with the demise of Raila Odinga, he has no opponent. I would like just to inform him that we are not his opponents. His opponents are the people of Kenya. And the people of Kenya have gone nowhere. We are just doing what the people of Kenya want. We have sufficient clear instructions from the people of Kenya to agree on one single presidential candidate to face William Ruto and liberate our country, restore the dignity of the paisley, restore the Kenyan nation, bring an end to the era of bribery, corruption, mismanagement of public resources, the era of abductions and extrajudicial killings. And we want to assure the people of Kenya that we are more than determined to abide by their wish to get one single presidential candidate. It will happen, and that will be the candidate of the people of Kenya. So William Ruto, much as you seek to celebrate the death of Raila Odinga, as you have rightly said that you are quite happy now that you have no other opponent, your opponent is not ourselves here. It is the people of Kenya and the...
Okay, so at that moment, of course, we see Gachagua making sure that he is collecting the tyrant of numbers from Kalonzo, Natembea, and the rest of them. And maybe when I look at the comments of most of the young people and maybe even other people, because especially when you look at the pay slip he's talking about, actually when you look at the pay slip currently, like we have to go for loans after loans. I don't know whether these people try to analyze on the ground or they just keep saying that we are going to change Kenya into a first world country. How can you change my life into a first world country when you've actually trimmed my pay slip? You've particularly circumcised my payslip into nothing. Like my payslip has been forcefully circumcised until when I want even a loan, there is a limitation. Like now, many loans are going at 10 years. Do you ask yourself why? It's because when they look at the net pay, the money is too limited. And they started trimming when we already have loans, so they didn't care. They had to force in the house allowance. They had to force in, I don't know, NHI, whatever, and all those, some things that we don't understand. So they are causing our health problems because at the end of the month, you are stressed. You don't know where to get money for this and that and that. But at the same time, they are trying to tell us that they can treat us with SHA. So do you create problems for us so that we are sick and we go to treat again when you could simply leave us alone and get an option for that, you know? So when I look at that, I'm just trying to listen to the opposition. Tell us, how are you going to restore our pay slips? Tell us, how are you going to ensure that you keep our dignity as basic needs to offer? We say we don't have money. Your children see you going to work every day. But at the end of the month, you've spent the money within 1 week because it is too little. And when they ask you for something, you tell them, I don't have money. You start a project like construction of houses, and before you finish the house, the money is over, the loan is over, but you are already in chains of 10-year loan. Can you imagine that? I didn't even expect that Mwalimu Sacco would introduce such a loan, but they have introduced Jawab loan because they now understand a loan of 8 years is not enough. You can't even do a project. You cannot buy land and construct with that money. So they are going into other loans that take 10 years now. The banks may shift to 12 years, who knows? So I also listened to Wamchomba. Wamchomba talked. And Wamchomba was actually urging the leaders to tell us what they'll do. I won't bring here the receipts, but what I can see in Kenya is that there is actually a war between parties that is happening currently. And as people try to silence each other and try to threaten, like the ODM people did in Bondo, telling Gachagua not to go because he's a friend to Mutahi, then I said that these people are lost. Because for what they are trying to do is to create a different nation, and they are trying to shift that blame of tribal boundaries from Gachagua to themselves. So currently, of course, Wanga has been blamed by so many people, including Amisi, among others, who now do not see what she's doing. I heard about Orobo. Orobo was talking, and I said that this lady is actually lost. And even the way she addresses the people, I think she needs to actually think about it. Because according to Amisi, she was simply nominated and empowered all the time that she's used just to receiving and not fighting for it. Anyway, I want us to look at many other things, but among them, I want us to look at the renegade and how will it affect America, for example. This is something that is worth discussion. Let me just check on it and see what it has to bring in the House. So currently, the experience is shared by one analyst here, and I want to check on it. So let me press for it, then present it to you in relation to the happenings. Yeah, so in relation to the discussions in ODM, of course, we've seen a lot happening on the streets from Magarini to Kilifi to Mombasa town, and we've seen a clear picture of what ODM is trying to do. Some of the members inside ODM feel like ODM is going to die if they don't actually protect and shield it from the clear situation in which even us as outsiders, or rather citizens, we can see clearly there is a crack. And I've said this many times, not once, not twice, that ODM has a crack, because there are those who are now standing with the government strongly, and there are those who are saying, no, ODM is a party on its own. So that kind of communication, double communication, brings a different picture for ODM. And as we look at DCP, DP or DAP, Wiper, and other parties coming together, we can see a bombshell on both the government and ODM. Anyway, maybe some people might not agree currently, and they might think someone is biasly speaking, but let's wait for it, because as they say, it always rolls and gets to it. Okay? I want to get to this aspect here. Let me get to this.
What do we do when we're facing the worst?
So there's a Dangote refinery movement. I don't know if you are aware about it. Dangote refinery. And I want you to understand it from the perspective of the context, so that we can go to it. Dangote refinery. Yeah, so I'm checking on that because I had already researched, but sometimes it happens after you researched on something, it disappears because maybe you are up and down looking on other stuff. So the Dangote refinery is something that anybody has to understand, Nigeria, right? Yeah, so this is it, okay? So the Dangote refinery is happening in Nigeria, and of course it affects the global oil, all right? It's a large privately owned refinery in Lagos, Nigeria, with a capacity of about 650,000 barrels per day of oil, okay? And it officially began operations in early 2024 with production of oil up to 2025, okay? So the refinery is not only meant to demand, but even to allow exportation into other nations, like gasoline, jet fuel, among other products that come from the raw oil. So it's going to be, or it is already, crude oil, yeah, from abroad, because domestic feedstock supply has been constrained, right? What is already happening currently or globally and to America is that the refinery exported jet fuel to US, including around 1.7 million barrels in 1 month. That is March 2025. And that was through 6 vessels to US ports. Now, it also exported the first gasoline cargo to North America in late August 2025. Okay? Now, because of this exportation, we know that US now became, for the first time, a net exporter of crude oil to Nigeria in early 2025. Now, between February and March, as Nigeria sourced more foreign crude from refinery, the competitive dynamics of competing European refineries has now opened up in the Atlantic basin. Okay, so what is the possible effect on America? Of course, what we see is that in the near future, we will have fuel import dynamics and supply diversification. When we have diversification, it means that the US receiving jet fuel from Nigeria will add another source of supply of refined products that can help to hedge against the supply disruption that have been happening elsewhere, like Europe, Middle East, and may actually exert downward pressure on jet fuel prices. Of course, this is good, but what will the suppliers see? They'll see that negatively. Again, on the crude side, the fact that Nigeria now is importing more US crude oil from early 2025, this means that there is a shift in trade flows. Again, that may reduce the US market share for some foreign crude exporters or change US export logistics. Okay, now you can check that for more details. There is also another second aspect we can see here: competitive pressure on US or Western refiners. Now, with this kind of Dangote, if Dangote refinery actually reliably increases exports of refined products, gasoline or jet fuel, to global markets, including the US and Atlantic basin, it means that the US refiners will actually face a lot of competition on pricing and margin pressures than on export destinations. The other problem is that trade flows, for example, may shift, okay, tankers and shipping costs, infrastructure, among other aspects. And in turn, there may be shipping markets, bunkering, storage in US, and among other things. Now, we have also seen a possible effect on price and market effects, like more supply. More supply from additional sources tends to moderate prices. And therefore, jet fuel shipment from Dangote, Nigeria to the US were cited as helping to lower the price of aviation fuel. On the flip side of it, if the refinery has outages or feedstock issues, this can tighten the supply and push prices right up. Okay? Yeah, that could affect US greatly and the consumers, so that gasoline unit outage at Dangote raises US gasoline crack. The fourth problem that we can see is strategic or geopolitical implications. And this one, the emergence of large refinery capacity in Africa reduces reliance on certain trade corridors, of course, therefore shifting the balance in the Atlantic energy basin. They may actually make companies, US companies and policymakers to reassess supply chains and security of feedstock, among other things. Okay? Therefore, it's important that while Dangote refinery is large, it is still ramping up and forcing operational challenges. And of course, with offline and all that kind of operations since September 2025, reducing gasoline availability in the Atlantic basin and impacting on margins. The US link so far, of course, is still modest relative to overall US refined product consumption, and US domestic refining and storage, logistic regulation, and market structure are different from Dangote itself. Okay, so it may mean that even can never fully be replaced. Trade flows, competitive effects are taking place. So you have major factors surrounding that. But the bottom line is Dangote refinery represents actually a new variable in global energy. And therefore, it offers potential upside that will introduce new competition and complexity in the US refiners and policymakers. So in the new term, the effect will be noticeable in the niche product flow. The Dangote expands further and stabilizes operations. It is unlikely to completely reshape the US refining, but there is still something that may come in the long term. Okay, so maybe this is something we have to check on and analyze majorly, because it's something new. Anyway, yeah, so we've been here for 40 minutes already, 40 minutes, and I think I've covered the major aspects of my video, unless there is something I didn't talk about. Let me just check.
Anything under us?
Let me just check if there is anything I've left out.
First comment on
Oh, there is something that Gloria came up with today. And of course, it's related to Tanzania. Of course, many people have talked about Tanzania, and they are saying that Tanzania becomes a threat to the peace of the world. And not just to the world, but of their own citizens. Especially given that during this moment of elections, a lot of people have been speculated to have died, and also the election process itself was not clear. So according to that, therefore, Oroba was suggesting that if Kindiki was in Tanzania celebrating alongside, the rest of the leaders, the reception of leadership by Samia, then he deserves to be impeached. I don't know what you think about this, but here she is. She says something here. I want us to listen to it.
this president is becoming and people went to the streets. They believed in him and they said, we're going to fight for our country. And it was only after parliament was breached and burnt down that William Ruto panicked and then said, my goodness, I need to call Raila Odinga to government. So Raila Odinga never went to government because he loved to go. In fact, he did William Ruto a favor. But if there's a person who has been abusing Raila Odinga, number one is William Ruto. So for anyone to say that anyone who has abused Raila Odinga should not be bondo, then in the state funeral, let me tell you, all the VIPs should have not been in that. Because all the VIPs were politicians. And you in this politics, today, I keep clarifying this. I am legally the senator. I'm not formally a senator. It is just that this regime has actually refused to follow the constitution and stick to the law. So we have 68 senators because the other one was sworn in and I am still a senator. So that I have to keep clarifying so that when people ask me about my status in court and whatnot, I tell them this is the correct position. This narrative that Wakil is running is not necessarily a false narrative. There have been independent states that have been invaded by outside forces, like he has correctly pointed out in Libya, what happened in Libya. But I think it is a dangerous narrative to keep using as a blanket statement when certain things are happening. Why do I say that? In Tanzania, there's so much more than just saying outsiders have come in and they want minerals, and so they are trying to disrupt the peace that we have. Because if you say that, then you will also be saying in 2027, this regime that every single working Kenyan who has a payslip is tired of, you are definitely now going to start saying that these people who are voting out RUTO are actually not those people, that they are outside forces who want to come in and mine for whatever minerals. It's a very dangerous narrative. You have to listen to the people of Tanzania for you to be able to weigh, is this really an external force? And when you listen to those people, they have very many pressing issues that they are able to articulate. And that's why in so many of those polling stations, they didn't come out to vote. If this thing was as black and white as Wakili wants to put it, why was the internet shut off? If it's black and white, as it happened in Libya, we saw everything and no internet was shut off. Have all this now foreign bodies and missions who come to do the observation of the election to make sure that they write a report back to their countries because they have partner ties or whatever. We had no representation of European moment for Tanzania in terms of finally they get to exercise that democratic right and put in their leader. Of national unity, but not national unity, a symbol of exercising the human rights, a symbol of a person who actually, an office that is pushing Kenyans and is pushing this nation to stand by the constitution. Just by him being there and Klausha, akapatia hiyo inauguration and whatever moja. For me, it was very sad, and let me tell you something. The next regime, because in 2027 this
work is a pain in the ass. My files are in this app, my chats in this app, projects in that app.
We have to stop pretending that countries that just hold an election where sometimes the winner somehow magically gets 90% of the vote because all the opposition is locked up or can't get on TV is a democracy. Democracy depends on strong institutions, and it's about minority rights and checks and balances and freedom of speech and freedom of expression and a free press and the right to protest and petition the government and an independent judiciary and everybody having to follow the law.
Most of us know that.
All right, so that is Obama. Obama actually released a statement that was very close to sharing what his opinion is about Tanzania. So we come to an end of our analysis. We have taken 44 minutes, and I hope you followed closely what we are discussing. I really appreciate your presence and your contributions toward the channel. Keep up with it, and may God bless you in your endeavors. Thank you. Have a nice time till tomorrow.